of the night is Alex Caceres versus Seung Choi. Of course, we've already had a fight with Seung Choi where he just absolutely obliterated Julian Erosa. And yeah, I called that fight wrong, and that was a quick finish, and my pick got finished quick. So this week, he's fighting Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres, and he's coming off a 4-fight win streak. He's 33 years old, fighting in the featherweight division at 145. He's coming at 5'10 with a 73.5-inch reach. Our boy Woo Choi is coming off a 3-fight win streak. He's 28 years old. He's at 6 foot and a 74.5-inch reach. So these guys are eerily similar in height and reach. But this should be an interesting matchup. I think we see this similarly, Zach. And I think the general population does not necessarily see it the same way we do.
Well, probably not. I'm sure looking in advance at the odds, Seung Choi is a pretty substantial favorite here. And I see every reason why. The dude is absolutely dangerous on the feet. I mean, the dude can put your lights out. And for being a 145 pounder, being on the smaller half of the weight divisions, that's always something that we find interesting. That's always something that we want to watch. But
he's lightning quick. His combinations are so fast. It's incredible.
It's just, I mean, it's funny because you have a guy that can do all of this with his striking mixed with this combination of power. And I don't think either one of us has a bad thing to say about the guy outside of the fact that you look at his loss to Gavin Tucker, you look at some of the things that he's been doing, and you realize dude's a liability on the ground. Dude is in trouble when you get his back to the mat. I'm not saying that that's something that can prevent him from being a great UFC fighter. And I'm not even suggesting that's not a problem that you can't more or less fix. But based on what I've seen of this dude's groundwork and knowing that my boy Bruce Leroy can wrestle, my boy Bruce Leroy can get your back to the mat. He's no slouch striking, but I think if you have to give the advantage to one or the other, Choi's probably the better just straight up striker. And if this was a Muay Thai match, I would significantly favor Choi. But Caceres is good on the feet. He's good on the ground. And I think that combination of being the better, just all around, well-rounded mixed martial artist, I think it's going to get him the win. I think he's going to probably get a win by decision, but I think he's going to churn Choi out on the ground and make his life very unpleasant for 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think Alex Caceres definitely, if his camp, is smart about it, you realize that you don't necessarily have the edge in the stand-up striking, and that his ground game is far superior than Choi's, and that it's going to be a liability for Choi. But however, I don't think you're necessarily giving Alex Caceres as much props as we need to on the striking aspect of his game. It's very interesting to watch his fights, especially when he stands up with somebody. Like his stand-up brawl with Steven Parker, who's notorious just, come at you with no regret.
Banger.
Yeah, he's a banger. He come at, all he did, circle, counter strike, circle, counter strike. It was masterclass. He tore up Steven Peterson, who's no slouch. He's a good fighter. Not great, but he's fun to watch. And he completely outboxed him. And it's a weird because he's just on his bike the entire time. And once you come in on him, he keeps on moving in and out, gets his licks in. But I think Choi, we haven't really seen him move around. He's more of one of these stare you down kind of fighters that comes at you, just walks you down, and throws bombs. I think that Alex Caceres, moving around the octagon the way he does and darting in and out on these counters, it's going to play a big role. And I think that obviously he has to worry about Choi's speed. Other than that, obviously definitely advantage Caceres on the ground, and I think that's where he wins the fight.
No, I agree. I think Caceres is definitely a very good striker. I think it makes me nervous to realize that he's been finished on in 9 separate fights, with I believe a majority of those being knockout. So I'm a little bit concerned about how his chin stacks up against Choi's power, but like you just kind of hinted at, like it's really hard to judge somebody's chin when they're not getting hit. I think Choi is gonna land his punches, and I think he's going to have some moments in this fight, but I think it's going to be predominantly Caceres. I think we're predominantly going to be watching Bruce Leroy do his thing.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how long it takes him to take this to the mat, especially with Alex, being on his bike, probably I'd say the whole first round and making Choi come after him. And then you get to the second round and you get a takedown because his legs are a little gassed, Choi's, by just trying to chase you around the octagon. I think that would be very interesting to see. But I think the matchup really favors Caceres.
Couldn't agree more.
The odds, however, say otherwise. But that's why we're here. We're here to make money, folks. Alex Caceres coming in at a sizable. I don't know how to get rid of this.
Oh, there's an X.
Yeah. Caceres coming in at a sizable plus 245 underdog. And Woo Choi, sizable favorite, of course, minus 278. So if you agree with anything that we have to say, you're licking your chops here and you're ready to hit the bank. You see any prop bets that you also would like?
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more that getting plus money to this degree on this fight is like a gift, but they're not giving us any gifts, the bookies, in terms of over unders, in terms of decision picks. It's pretty unanimous. It sounds like that this fight is going to go to a decision. So if you're going to bet on Choi and just FTCKE, fuck the calf kick experience, yeah, I suppose you could probably get some good odds in there, but I don't know. I'm not coy on Caceres either wins by knockout or by submission. Maybe Choi will win by a knockout if he's going to get it done. That's how he's going to get it done in my head, but I don't know. Maybe Caceres wins by unanimous decision at plus 600. That's a pretty good bet for me on this fight, I think.
I mean, I could also see, once again, submission plus 1235. I mean, that not bad. I wouldn't parlay that necessarily, but it's worth taking a shot in the dark, man. I mean, as much as we see this going to ground for Caceres, I don't think it would be, by any stretch of the imagination, hard for him to get a sub, especially with his prowess on the ground. So
no, I hear you. And look, just Caceres to win by a decision is at plus 490. So realistically, if we're looking at the fights we've covered so far, this is probably your one to really maximize your bank. It's a little bit more risky. This is probably the least definitive of the picks we've made up to this point, but if it hits, it's going to hit, man. It's going to hit harder than a Mack truck.
I agree. And I think they're giving out some gifts. I mean, I think as much as we agree on this one, that kind of plus money doesn't happen often. I mean, that's something that I lick my chops at and be like, oh, all right, let's get it.